Yeah, g'day. It's Steve Andrews, State Member for Morenni. I'm back here to chew your ears off again. This is a pretty important topic, and I think it's well worth everyone listening to. It's to do with debt. Would anyone realise, and I don't think that they do, we've done a bit of a look into debt and the Audit Office, and from what we found, I don't think it's the actual budget of Queensland since the beginning of Parliament. I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Has never been audited by the Audit Office here in Queensland. Now, one would think that the Audit Office, it does all budgets, or some budgets in other states actually do get audited by the Audit Office, but somehow Queensland's been able to avoid it. Why would we have an Audit Office to start with? So the question is, debt as a tool, and we have a lot of situations where the Treasurer is quick to mention how debt is a great tool and how we can go forward. We're at 120 billion in about 2 years' time, a year and a half, 2 years. We're looking to go to about 188 billion. These are the forecasts, and that's yet to be realised as well. But it's still a heck of a big increase. So debt as a tool. The situation is, it's a tool for the people that borrow us the money as well. So the people that borrow us the money, they expect things more than just interest rates, I believe, for when they do borrow states and also countries' money. There's conditions that come with debt. And some of those things are, obviously the ESGs and the SDGs, environmental sustainable governance and stuff like that we have to adhere to. It could be to do with preserving the Great Barrier Reef and stopping the fishing industry. It could be to do with cutting back on, cattle grazer land, and as the properties come up, the state government buy them and reduce the amount of food stock or output that we have in Queensland as a cattle producer. There's a lot of things attached to debt, and the biggest things I look at is, number one, if you don't meet these conditions, there's options, especially for the person that's borrowing or lending the money to you. One, interest rates. They can go up and they can become obscene. Obviously, these things float around like anything. Number two is that, you actually could have your actual credit rating changed. So that lessens the opportunity for you to borrow more money or be able to add to your debt portfolio for infrastructure or whatever. Number three is for money to be stopped lending or lent money stopped to not be able to access any money because you didn't meet some criteria, or even worse, the debt's all called in one go, which would be a little bit a difficult situation to cope with that sort of money. So yeah, debt's a good tool, not just for the government, but it also can be a good tool for the people that are lending the money. So let's have a look at transparency and debt and what that sort of means. Transparency, to me, every single dollar that the taxpayer pays should have the opportunity to know where that's spent, what it's spent on, and what we actually get for it. A lot of governments use debt or use spending as a measure for their success. It's not a measure for success. What should be a measure of success is how much we didn't have to spend to actually achieve that project. That is a measure of success. And how under budget we went to measure the success. Not just because we are going to throw $700 million at a duplicate bridge at Bribey Island because we want to sandbag a seat for someone to win so that we can retain that particular seat. That $700 million, by the time the election rolls around and we get to build it, as you know, will probably blow out to 1.4 billion. So is there transparency involved? Absolutely not. Does the government just basically sit on the fact that this is how much we spent, this is how much we're going to give you, even when it comes to, relief for what we're going through at the moment, one of the worst cost of living crisis that we have? Who made the cost of living crisis? Well, you have to go to government to find that out. You have to understand that government are responsible for this stuff that's going on. What we've got to do is, though, we've got to be able to have a look, and the public-private sector has to be able to be as transparent as any other sector. I remember back in, I think it was 2021, 22, I asked Premier Palaszczuk, I said, Queensland looks like someone under a blanket with a torch reading a book, because you can't see what's going on with our money. There's no transparency. And this was to do with some of the stuff that happened over at Keswick Island and the lease that was actually perpetrated on some of that. Government needs to be open and honest. It doesn't matter whether you're one party or the other party. We get back to it, and I'll keep repeating this message because it's so important. If the crossbench holds the balance of power, there's nothing more than all the people on the crossbench want, and we've done this with the Olympic Games. We signed a pledge to say that we shouldn't be having it. We asked if that was going to be the cost. Is the cost? We know it's not going to. We know it's going to blow out like everything else. The taxpayers' money, it just gets flitted away. It's okay if you're not earning it. You know, I've come from a business background, but done both trades as a lecky and a fitter. I know what budgets are. I know what costs are. I know what that means. Some of the other people in Parliament, not so very much, come from offices, come straight from offices into Parliament, and not necessarily offices that are business offices. And what I'm going to say is this: everything can be controlled, everything can be looked at, and always in the hands of the people when it comes to transparency. Transparency, it's not a right, it's not a privilege, sorry, it's a right for the people, I should say. I apologise. It is a right for the people. It's not a privilege. Every time that we spend money, and it's a big ticket item, doesn't matter where we go, transparency of taxpayers' money, the people's money. It's not the government's money, it's the people's money. There needs to be open access to all of it. It just got nothing to do with anyone's secrets or how they run their business or key personnel or key ideas. No one wants to see any of the way that they work or any of that. I don't want to know any of their trade secrets. I just want to see where the money went and if we got value for it. That's what the crossbench will bring. That's what's going to give us, you know, the way to be able to handle our debt, to be able to deal with our debt in a right way. Let's have a look at the outcomes and the good things that come out of saving money, not having to blow out budgets. We all know there's a lot of excuses going. Let's just blame the Ukraine. Let's blame this. Let's blame that. Yep, could have a little bit to do with it. If that's the case, open up the books and show us. Another thing is with renewables, if they're so roll gold, if they're so good, if it's such a perfect plan, open up the contracts, show us what's going on, who's liable for the cleanup, how much the subsidies are, show all the people of Queensland just how good these things are. It's not a big ask. Everyone else has to. We all have to quit our money. We all have to pay our tax. Isn't it funny how when it comes to the government and big spending, no one can see a thing? That's why you vote for a strong crossbench. That's why you stick with having the fairness and balance for both sides of politics, for the two major parties. This is what I'm telling you. This is a message I'm giving to you. You can't go wrong with transparency. There's just not enough of it to go around. Thanks for having me on.